Hey y'all, can you believe it's week 3 of the January Pantry Challenge and I still have so much food? This is probably going to go into at least February and maybe even March, but I am going to use up some of the stuff that I have in my freezers, refrigerators, and pantries. And I made some delicious meals this week, especially the 2 dinners and a potato dish that you've got to make. We both fell in love with it. So I hope you get inspired to do a pantry challenge at your house and kind of do a spring cleaning of foods in your pantry and freezers and fridge that needs to be used up. So I hope you enjoy the video. I'm going to start with packing Doug's lunch and making his breakfast. I've just got ham, cheese, mayonnaise, and lettuce on some buns that I needed to use up. And I'll just wrap them up and give him some snacks. And I'm making some sausage for his breakfast. These are just a little sausages from Aldi. They're frozen, so I browned them a little bit, and I'm going to put a lid on there and let him cook for just a few minutes, and I'll make a couple fried eggs for him. And now we're going to skip to dinner because I did a bad job at recording some of these meals, but this was delicious. I just cut up some potatoes for some mashed potatoes, and I'm going to use my cast iron skillet. I patted out some hamburger that I defrosted, and I just put some salt and pepper on these. And I'm just going to brown them. Not all the way done because I'm going to put some onions and some gravy in here with it. So I just browned it on both sides. Alright, I browned the patties on both sides, and I'm just going to let them hang out on the paper towel. And I've got 1 onion cut up, and I'm going to fry that in the grease. And I added everything back so everything can cook together. And I'll just add a lid to that and let it hang out. And now I'm going to start on my potatoes. All I did was use evaporated milk, salt, and some butter. And I made a gravy. I just took the packet and mixed it with some water and poured it over the top. You just can't beat a meat and potato meal, and this was so good, especially with that gravy and the onions. It just took it straight over the top. And now it's football day, so I'm going to make some wings, and I just lined the sheet tray with some foil and some parchment paper, but that parchment paper did not work. They all stuck to the parchment. So next time I will not do that, but I took a rack that I found in the cabinet and laid them on there and broiled them, and they turned out really good. And I'm just going to divide them into 2 bowls. I'm going to put buffalo sauce on Doug's and Asian wing sauce on mine that I get from Aldi, and it's so good. Way less heat than the one from Buffalo Wild Wings, which I love, but it's just too hot. And I'm going to use the Primal Kitchen buffalo sauce on Doug's because that's what I had in the fridge. I just made a salad to go with the wings. I have been obsessed over salads lately. Ever since I made that Italian dressing from that packet on last week's video, I have ate salads nonstop. And this was so good, and we enjoyed this meal while we watched a whole day of football. And today I tried to make a rotisserie chicken in the crock pot. I just rolled up some foil so it wouldn't touch the bottom and get stewed in that liquid. And I just took some onion powder, garlic powder, Lowry seasoned salt, salt and pepper, and I did cook it overnight. I think next time I will tweak this and I'll just make it during the afternoon and we'll have it for dinner, but it still turned out really, really good. And I did not eat this that day. I think that was another reason why it was kind of dry. I took it out of the crock pot and put it in the fridge, and we had it that night, but it was still really, really good. And I heated it up the next day, and I made this delicious potato recipe. Y'all have got to make this. Doug said it was the best potatoes he's ever had, and I think the same thing. So all I did was just cut up some thin potatoes. I didn't even peel them. And I just put salt and pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. And I used up some of this cheese that I needed to use up in the fridge. It was Parmesan, and I just shaved some of that in there. I also used some butter, about a half a stick of butter, and I melted that and put that in there and just mixed that around. And I heated up the skillet in the oven with some avocado oil to make it even crispier. And I just mixed that around. And then I laid it on the sheet tray like that, and I just put some more of that Parmesan cheese over the top, and I baked it on 450 for about 20 to 30 minutes until they got nice and browned, and they were so good. You've got to make them. And I just paired that with the chicken. I also took some zucchini that I had put in that bowl with all those flavors from the potatoes and Put those in the oven, and this was such a delicious meal. Alright, the last thing I'm going to do is make some bone broth, and I'm taking some of those chickens that I need to use up out of the freezer. I've covered them with water. I've got some peppercorn, bay leaf, celery, onions, carrots, and salt in here, and I'm going to cook it just until these chickens are done. I'll take them out, take the meat off, and put everything back in, and I'll cook it a total of 24 hours. And you want to do it nice and slow. And also, if you want to add a couple splashes of apple cider vinegar, that will help draw out some of the flavor out of the bones. And I'll take some of the tips of the chicken wings that I used a couple days ago and my dinner, and I'll use those in there as well. And also some pieces of chicken breast that I have saved. And I'll put it all in there and just let it cook until it's done. And then I will strain it out, put it in the fridge, and let all that fat come to the top and strain that off, and it'll be like some beef jello. I hope y'all enjoyed week 3 of the January Pantry Challenge, and I'll see you next week in week 4.